Y News. The Office of the Solicitor General sets to move for the recall of bail grant on NDFP consultants. The House Opposition Bloc starts the deliberations for the Death Penalty Reimposition Bill.
The implementation of a jeepney ban along EDSA Guadalupe begins on February 13. And families struggle to salvage their belongings after a massive fire hit Tondo, Manila.
Y News begins now.
From the UNTV News and Rescue Command Center, this is Y News with Angelo Castro III and Darlene Basingan.
Good evening. The Office of the Solicitor General will file a manifestation and motion to the Supreme Court and the regional trial courts for the issuance of commitment orders against NDF consultants who were granted temporary bail to be able to participate in the failed peace negotiations. Solicitor General Jose Calida points out that the Supreme Court, in its resolution issued last August 2016, has imposed conditions for the grant of provisional liberty to 20 NDF consultants, one of which is that once their participation ceases or the peace talks are terminated, their respective bonds shall be deemed automatically cancelled. Calida adds that the consultants can now be arrested and recommitted to their respective detention facilities. A former member of the New People's Army, or NPA, proves the fallacies and wrongdoings of the NPA. Victor Cosare will tell us why.
Gerry is just one of the 7 former members of the New People's Army in the Davao region who surrendered to the government after President Rodrigo Duterte terminated the peace negotiations with the Communist Party of the Philippines. He stayed with the rebel organization for 7 months before deciding to leave after realizing that they were just given empty promises.
Hindi na ako kaya dito sa bukid. Sige, lakaw. Kada mamrugo kulang-kulang may kuan dito supply na.
During his stay with the Front 15 of the rebel group operating in Davao Oriental and Caraga region, he was part of 2 encounters between government forces. It was during a clash in Manay, Davao Oriental last February 1 where a junior army officer was killed when Ka Juni decided to run away and surrender to the military.
Gikulban ko atong time. Wala na ko sa pan nga mugunit pa kog pusil. Nga akong nauna-unahan nga mo kuwang ko dito. Mo hambak ko. Kaya di na ako kaya mamusigod.
Meanwhile, Ka Juni confirms that the NPA is recruiting minors to join the armed struggle.
Nasa nay 15, nay 16. Napoy ka itong 12, pero masakit ang puntong bata. So, mauna ang dapat nga dili yung tatoy ko yun.
After going back to the fold of the government, Ka Juni also encourages his former colleagues to surrender.
Diri ang tinuod nga gobyerno, wala diha. Sugod sa paggawas na ko, murag na nakakita na ko ka kanayong kuhan, hayag. Dito sa bukid, kay permi man kong ngit-ngit nga latawanan.
On the other hand, the 10th Infantry Division of the Philippine Army has been launching operations against the NPA after the president decided to scrap the unilateral ceasefire with the rebels. Victor Cosare, UNTV News and Rescue, Davao City.
House Speaker Pantaleon Alvarez is pushing for a party vote for the passage of the Death Penalty Reimposition Bill. The House leader also warns lawmakers not following their party's position of removal from leadership posts. Nel Maribuhok will tell us why.
The leadership of the lower house of Congress holds a caucus to members of the Partido Demokratiko Pilipino Lakas ng Bayan or PDP and the majority coalition bloc. Discussed in the meeting were the administration's priority bills, particularly the Death Penalty Reimposition Bill. House Speaker Pantaleon Alvarez says he will push for a party vote in order for the said proposal to pass Congress.
I will just tell the members of PDP Laban dito sa House of Representatives that party stand yung restoration of the death penalty.
Alvarez says lawmakers not in favor of the controversial bill will be removed from leadership post.
Deputy speakers na hindi sasama doon sa administration bill, papalitan po natin. Kasi required na deputy speaker ka and then you don't agree with the leadership.
The opposition bloc contradicts this proposal.
Pag pinilit mo yan, sa aking nakita sa mga nakaraan, magkakaroon ng long-range impact yan.
I think kung hindi mo nga kaya talaga support and rally your group to support, tulungan si Speaker, then why are you in that position, di ba?
Of the 292 congressmen, 97 are members of the ruling party aside from the parties under the supermajority coalition. The passage of the Death Penalty Reimposition Bill would require a majority vote from the lawmakers. Nel Maribuhok, UNTV News and Rescue, House of Representatives.
The members of the House Supermajority Coalition have agreed on some amendments for the passage of the Death Penalty Reimposition Bill. From the House of Representatives, Nel Maribuhok is back to tell us why live. Yes, Nel.
Darlene, the caucus held this afternoon by the House Supermajority Coalition disagreement that have been made among the leaders of the parties in the coalition. House Speaker Pantaleon Alvarez says they agreed to follow the policy of party stand in voting for the passage of the Death Penalty Reimposition Bill. They also agreed on reducing the crimes under the bill.
Kanina may mga nabawas na kami, napag-agrihan namin.
One of these is plunder. He said that they will not change the current plunder law. They also agreed that imposing death penalty on a crime will not be mandatory.
Ang napagkaagrihan, hindi siya mandatory death, no? Kundi, reclusion perpetua to death. Ibig sabihin, yung judge, yung magsasabi kung kailan niya ipapataw yung death penalty.
Meanwhile, the House Speaker reiterates his statement of removing those who are anti-death penalty in the leadership on any lower house post.
Hindi banta yun. Talagang totoo yun.
One of the known anti-death penalty leader in the House is Deputy Speaker and former President Gloria Macapagal-Arroyo, whom Alvarez wants to remove from leadership post.
We have to replace her as the Deputy Speaker.
The House leader is optimistic that despite the delaying tactics of the opposition bloc, the controversial bill will be passed into law. Meanwhile, the period of debate in the lower house plenary starts tonight for the passage of the Death Penalty Reimposition Bill. Albay First District Representative Edsel Lagman questioned one of the sponsor of the bill, House Committee on Justice Chairman Reynaldo Umali, on the issue of the compelling reasons of reimposing death penalty that he already presented before the plenary. The debate of the two lawmakers centered on the constitutionality of the bill and also the provisions regarding the crimes under the bill. Also, anti-death penalty Congressman Lagman says the death penalty is not a proven deterrent on crimes in the country as what have been witnessed in the past. Darlene?
Thank you, Nel. And that's Nel Maribuhok reporting live from the House of Representatives. The PNP Internal Affairs Service summons the 4 policemen allegedly involved in the Giikju kidnap slay case. Leila Ilagan will tell us why.
PNP Internal Affairs Service or IAS has summoned Superintendent Rafael Dumlao, SPO3 Ricky Santa Isabel, SPO4 Roy Villegas and PO2 Christopher Valdivino, who are allegedly involved in the Giikju kidnap slay case. PNP IAS Deputy Inspector General Police Director Leo Angelo says the errant cops need to report to the IAS before the week ends so that the discussion on summary hearings of their cases would start at once. PNP IAS wants to verify with the 4 policemen if they want to hold an open hearing or just submit their position papers. The law gives the court 90 days to try a case in an open hearing. The process would be shortened to 28 days depending on how the accused will cooperate. It would further shorten if the suspect will just submit their position papers to the investigating authorities.
The summons have already been served last February 1 upon the instruction of the Inspector General, informing them about that they're being charged and they're being called for summary hearing for grave misconduct resulting from violations of the revised penal code ng murder, kidnapping, and extortion.
Meanwhile, Duterte confirmed that the charges against Police Superintendent Rafael Dumlao has been elevated to grave misconduct from just a simple neglect of duty case. This came after SPO4 Roy Villegas submitted his affidavit which directly links Dumlao to the crime.
Because of that, meron ng direct link na establish. Hence, elevated na yung kanyang hindi na lang siya simple command responsibility as the supervisor of or the direct supervisor of SPO3 Santa Isabel, but now he is now deemed as a principal doon sa nangyaring krimen against GICU.
The general further noted that the simple neglect of duty case is punishable by suspension only, while if proven guilty of grave misconduct, Dumlao would be dismissed from the service. Leia Ilagan, UNTV News and Rescue, Camp Crame.
The Philippine National Police defends President Rodrigo Duterte's directive to send rogue cops to Basilan. Yolanda will tell us why.
The Philippine National Police says the transfer of a policeman to other areas is a regular policy in the PNP. PNP PIO Chief Police Senior Superintendent Jonardo Carlos says each and every policeman can be transferred to any area in the country as part of their duty.
This is a regular thing sa amin. The transfer and reassignment of our personnel, given na yan sa trabaho. We are members of the Philippine National Police and not just a local police force.
Carlos adds that possibly among the cops to be deployed to Basilan are the policemen caught planting drugs during a raid as seen on a CCTV footage presented at a Senate probe, and Laloma cops involved in hulidap in Mandaluyong City. The PNP will shoulder all travel expenses of policemen facing charges if they need to appear before the court. For now, there is no way for more than 200 rogue cops to appeal their situation as the directive of the president is final. The former PNP chief, now Senator Panfilo Lacson, says there is nothing wrong with PNP imposing disciplinary action on their personnel.
Ang opinion ko, ito mga rogue cops, for the longest time, they're also shaming the PNP. So they deserve no less. No? Kung ipahiya rin sila, they should expect na dahil sa ginagawa nila, meron din kasukli yun, di ba?
Meanwhile, NCRPO Chief Oscar Albayalde says, as of now, no one among the rogue policemen signified any intention to resign rather than be deployed in Basilan. John Nano, UNTV News and Rescue, Philippines.
Senator Leila de Lima is accusing the Department of Justice of planning her immediate arrest over cases linking her to the Bilibid drug trade. Joyce Balancho will tell us why.
Senator Leila de Lima is convinced that the Department of Justice is planning her immediate arrest over cases linking her to the Bilibid drug trade.
Here comes my information, very reliable information from within, na malapit na daw talagang ilabas nila yung resolution na yan, finding probable cause against me. And worse is that ang plano na daw ngayon ng DOJ, lalo na itong SOJ, is ididiretso nila sa regular courts. Why regular court? Para makakuha kaagad ng warrant of arrest.
The latest senator is dismayed that the Court of Appeals has not yet acted on her urgent motion requesting for a temporary restraining order to the investigation of DOJ. She insists that only the Office of the Ombudsman has jurisdiction to conduct a preliminary investigation over her cases. However, if she fails to get a TRO from the Court of Appeals and the DOJ succeeds in securing a warrant of arrest from whichever court, she says she will have no choice but to submit herself to the process of law.
Then, that's it. I will have to be arrested. Ano pa bang magagawa ko? And I will not leave the country. I will not hide. I cannot hide, and I will not hide. And I will not flee because I'm innocent. Paninindigan ko yung innocence ko.
Meanwhile, Senator De Lima is preparing to file criminal and administrative complaints against Justice Secretary Vitaliano Aguirre at the Office of the Ombudsman. This after she allegedly received information that Aguirre restored the privileges of certain inmates like Herbert Colanco to use communication gadgets while in detention. She believes this is part of Aguirre's promise in exchange for their testimony against her during the hearing in the House of Representatives.
I have proof. If SOJ Aguirre denies this, I have no choice but to share my proof, the proof that I have, with some members of the Commission on Appointments and also with Senator Sonny Trillanes, because alam nyo naman oppositor siya. Para ma-raise din niya when he confronts as the nominee SOJ Aguirre sa next confirmation hearing.
On the other hand, Secretary Aguirre denies restoring any privileges to the inmates. Joyce Balancio, UNTV News and Rescue, Senate of the Philippines.
Justice Secretary Vitaliano Aguirre orders an investigation into the alleged special privileges being enjoyed by high-profile inmates who are temporarily detained at the AFP Custodial Center. In a memorandum, Aguirre directed Bucor Director Benjamin De Los Santos to investigate and verify a confidential report he received regarding the issue. He further ordered the immediate confiscation or dismantling of such special privileges granted to high-profile inmates, be it in a form of special favors, improvements, or equipment, which he said are violations of the Memorandum of Agreement signed between the DOJ and the Department of National Defense. Among the high-profile inmates detained at Camp Aguinaldo were convicted robber Herbert Colanco, convicted kidnapper and gang leader Noel Martinez, and other believed drug lords who testified in the congressional inquiry on the proliferation of illegal drug trade inside the new Bilibid prison.
The Department of Transportation is not in favor of the proposal of the Light Rail Manila Corporation to build a temporary common station, while the construction of the original MRT-LRT line common station is on delay. Monokson will tell us why.
The Department of Transportation or DOTR believes a permanent solution and not a temporary one is needed in order to provide quality service to thousands of LRT and MRT commuters. Because of this, the DOTR opposes the proposal to construct a temporary LRT station, noting that it would cost bigger than waiting for the original common station plan to push through.
Without losing sight of our objective na yung amin po sana ideal solution is isang permanenteng solusyon. Permanent in the sense that doon na po talaga interconnected na yung LRT1, MRT3, and MRT7.
Critics say the construction of the temporary station could not benefit commuters who will still have to walk 400 to 600 meters from MRT Line 3 to the said temporary station. LRMC, however, argues that the temporary station will not block the construction of the original common station and will in fact help increase the ridership of the LRT Line 1 from 20 to 40,000 passengers.
Paano lang may pupush ngayon yun kung hindi binibigyan ng budget, no? So, the best solution is a common station, no doubt, no? But when will it happen? In the meantime, if we're really concerned about public service, we can put up a station immediately. Because I'm concerned about ridership.
Furthermore, it remains unclear if LRMC will allow MRT trains to pass through the temporary station, since it still needs an upgrade, including its signaling system. Singson also allays fears of lawmakers that the expenses for the construction of the temporary station will be passed on to commuters, since LRMC vows to recoup the investment through increased ridership. The proposed temporary station will cost 250 to 280 million pesos. LRMC says its construction can be completed within 10 to 12 months. Mon Hokson, UNTV News and Rescue, House of Representatives.
The Metropolitan Manila Development Authority or MMDA will begin on Monday the implementation of a jeepney ban along EDSA Guadalupe. Joanano will tell us why.
The Metropolitan Manila Development Authority or MMDA will no longer allow passenger jeepneys to cross along EDSA beginning on Monday, February 13. This will cover passenger jeepneys with routes going to Pateros, C5 Market, and Bonifacio Global City in Taguig. The said plan aims to address traffic congestion and reducing travel time of motorists passing along EDSA. Earlier today, the MMDA and the barangay officials of Guadalupe Nuevo met with some transport groups, tricycle operators, market vendors, and some business owners who will be affected by the new traffic management scheme. During the meeting, they have discussed the guidelines and policies to be implemented under the said regulation to ensure that this will be effective in solving traffic problems.
Kompleto na yung advisory natin doon na isasara na nga yung EDSA sa mga dumadaang pampasaherong jeep. Pero ang private vehicles, madadaanin naman doon para makabawas tayo ng traffic sa EDSA.
According to the plan, all passenger jeepneys in Magsaysay Street are not allowed to exit EDSA. Instead, a driver should take P. Burgos Street and will turn right to P. Victor Street. Affected transport groups favors the new policy but appeals to MMDA to ensure that alternate routes will be cleared and passable for them. In line with this, the MMDA is committed to intensify their clearing and anti-illegal parking operations, especially that a lot of sidewalk vendors are blocking the roads in Guadalupe. More than 100 personnel from the MMDA, together with the barangay officials, will remove all obstructions along the alternate routes for the jeepneys. Those who will violate the traffic scheme will be charged with disregarding traffic signs and pay a fine of 500 pesos. The MMDA is confident that the new traffic management scheme will have a big impact in easing traffic congestion along EDSA.
Kung pagpapasin mo, maliit na part lang kasi yun eh. Diba, siguro mga 100 meters lang yun eh. Pero ang laki ng epekto noon doon sa impeding the flow of traffic kasi once na may jeep na nakabalandra doon, kakapababa at puno sa baba, naapektuhan yung mainstream namin. So inaasahan namin na kahit papaano, yung area ng Guadalupe, mababawasan yung traffic congestion.
Joanano, UNTV News and Rescue, Makati City.
Next in Y News. President Rodrigo Duterte lauds improvements in the Bureau of Customs under the transformational change campaign of the Duterte administration.
The Armed Forces of the Philippines vows to assign tactical ROTC officer for senior high school who has a record of abuse.
Y News will be right back. The Department of Agriculture is confident that the agricultural sector will now be more competitive with the other rice-producing countries. Ray Pelayo will tell us why.
The Department of Agriculture assures farmers that the government will not allow the market to be flooded with imported rice even if the quantitative restriction will end in June. The quantitative restriction on rice is a special treatment for the Philippines even if the country is a member of the World Trade Organization since 1995. The WTO allows free trade among member countries. The Philippines was granted a 10-year QR which was further extended in 2005, 2012, and 2014. Even if the QR ends in June, DA Secretary Manny Piñol says the existing laws and the tariff code must be amended first before the rice importers can move freely in the local market. But Piñol adds that the members of the Congress have not taken initiative to tackle it yet as they are concerned with its effect on the local farmers.
Even if officially the QR will end by June 30, there cannot be an unregulated entry of imported rice until such time the tariff code is ended.
The National Movement for Food Sovereignty and the Integrated Rural Development Foundation, on the other hand, fear the QR's termination. They say it will pose threat to farmers because the cost of local product of rice is higher than the other ASEAN rice-producing country. The group sees a reduction on farmers' profit of 3 pesos per kilo or 18,000 pesos per hectare.
Siyempre, ang magsasaka mawawalang gana ng pagsasaka. Lalong babagsak ang produksyon.
But Piñol says the Department of Agriculture is now drafting a bill that will create a loan institution for farmers and fishermen. This initiative is part of the department's programs to boost the farmers' capability in producing rice at a lower cost. If passed, a fund amounting to 100 billion pesos will be allotted for farmers and fishermen. Farmers can loan up to 25,000 pesos per hectare that they could use for farm inputs like seeds and fertilizers. Ray Pelayo, UNTV News and Rescue, Quezon City.
Members of the House of Representatives Committee on Transportation want to hold the transfer of the general aviation outside NAIA complex. Monokson will tell us why.
In December 2016, the Department of Transportation issued a department order for the transfer of the general aviation outside the Ninoy Aquino International Airport complex. Some aircrafts have been transferred to Clark and Subic in Pampanga and Sangli Airport in Cavite. But some aircrafts still use the runway in NAIA complex for business purposes. Stakeholders are appealing to the DOTR to consider qualifying aircrafts that need to be transferred and those that can still stay at the NAIA for business reasons. Many private planes that use the NAIA runway are from VIP customers of many leisure and gaming resorts situated beside and around NAIA. If the general aviation will be transferred, this might cripple the operation of these establishments.
Ang pinapakiusap po namin, i-qualify naman natin. And we probably can do a lot more segmentation of the general aviation. Kung sino yung pagpatagal at sino naman yung hindi naman talaga problema.
Some members of the House Committee on Transportation also appeal that the department consider holding the order of transferring all general aviation outside NAIA. But the Transportation Department says they already allow general aviation to use the runway beyond 7 p.m. The order cannot be easily revoked because this will be unfair for those who already transferred. The main reason why the general aviation was transferred is because of its effect on the air traffic congestion. DOTR says they might create another system that will fit the need of the gaming industry.
We will come up with categories of locators in MIA and determine which locators are in a better position to move, consider Sangli.
The House Committee on Transportation will set another day of hearing for the said issue. Mon Hokson, UNTV News and Rescue, House of Representatives.
President Rodrigo Duterte lauds the accomplishments that the Bureau of Customs has achieved as he graced today the 115th anniversary of the agency. Aiko Miguel will tell us why.
To the combined efforts of its leadership, its employees, the private sector, and the Filipino people, I am hopeful that the Bureau of Customs will no longer be tagged as among the most corrupt agencies in the coming year.
President Rodrigo Duterte praised the Bureau of Customs for being able to comply with the transformational change that the Duterte administration is requiring among government agencies. The president particularly mentioned the increase in the collection of the agency since November 2016. He encourages BOC employees to continuously support the anti-corruption campaign of the government and for the agency to further intensify its border control and campaign against illicit trade. During the event, Deputy Commissioner Edward James Dibuco presented some of the agency's achievements such as the confiscation of around 1.266 billion peso worth of illegal drugs. Also, the Deputy Commissioner boasted about the agency's online streaming program wherein activities within the agency is viewed real-time. Meanwhile, Commissioner Nicanor Fealdon announces that this year, there will be restructuring within the organization and promotion of employees who have served the agency for more than 30 years.
The organizational structure that has been in effect since 1987 will now be replaced with more responsive and efficient system, one that will improve the current 30-year-old organizational scheme and align it with the Customs Modernization and Tariff Act.
The president also promised BOC employees of salary increase to reward their dedication in service, especially in eradicating corruption.
It is my hope that you'll lend me your support in bringing them into the light or in bringing them down if they choose so. This is the only way to revitalize the Bureau of Customs and therefore our people's trust in government.
Aiko Miguel, UNTV News and Rescue, Bureau of Customs.
President Rodrigo Duterte approves the awarding of Medal of Valor to the 42 other members of PNP Special Action Force who died in the Mamasapano, Maguindanao encounter on January 25, 2015. In a letter addressed to Interior and Local Government Secretary Ismael Sueno by Executive Secretary Salvador Medialdea, the President approved to upgrade the PNP Distinguished Medal of the other 42 PNP staff to the posthumous award of PNP Medal of Valor. Last month, President Duterte ordered PNP Chief Director General Ronald Bato de la Rosa to process all the documents needed to accord the highest award to all PNP staff members who died after launching the Oplan Exodus targeting an international terrorist. Meanwhile, 205,000 Typhoon Yolanda victims will soon be granted free housing from the government. Rosalie Cos is in Quezon City to tell us why live. Yes, Rosalie, go ahead.
Good evening, Darlene. 205,000 beneficiaries who were victims of Typhoon Yolanda will avail the free house and conditional grant of lot of the government under the Duterte administration. This was the announcement President Rodrigo Duterte made before he ended his speech for the first housing summit of the National Housing Authority he attended under his administration.
Yung housing ninyo, after a few years you have to pay 200,000. Yung Pablo, pati yung Yolanda. Basta ako pa ang presidente, libre na yan. No more.
According to NHA General Manager Marcelino Escalada, house and lot package amounting to 290,000 pesos will be granted to all the Typhoon Yolanda victims who belong to the marginalized sector. This means this beneficiary in Typhoon Yolanda affected areas such as Samar, Leyte, Tacloban, Palawan, Cebu, Iloilo, Panay, and Antique will avail of free housing, but the lot allotted for them will be granted conditionally.
The grant for the house is free. The grant for the land will be usufruct so that people will not be able to sell it, dispose it, or make it as a collateral for future financial requirements. Meaning it will be still owned by government.
These housing projects amount to close to 50 billion pesos to be funded by the national appropriations. As of now, NHA reports of 131,000 ongoing Yolanda projects, and these constructions are already awarded. All Yolanda projects bidded out last year should be completed in December 2017, while the remaining projects bidded out last month should be completed in December 2018, allowing 2 years of implementation. Meanwhile, President Duterte also turned over certificates of awards to 105 NHA housing beneficiaries. Some of the recipients were informal settler families living along danger areas in Metro Manila, while some were calamity victims. Back to you, Darlene.
Thank you, Rosalie, and that's Rosalie Cos reporting live from Quezon City. Meanwhile, the Armed Forces of the Philippines, or AFP, vows the proper implementation of the ROTC program should it become mandatory again. Brian De Paz will tell us why.
The Armed Forces of the Philippines, or AFP, vows that it will not allow hazing and corruption in the Reserve Officers Training Corps, or ROTC, should it become mandatory for grades 11 and 12 students. AFP Public Affairs Office Chief Colonel Edgar Arevalo says the armed forces will ensure that strict implementation of the anti-hazing law and selection of designated tactical officers.
Tactical officers in charge of ROTC training have to be no record of abuse or hazing. Additionally, the anti-hazing law will be strictly implemented. The DND and the AFP will make sure that the tactical officers assigned to the ROTC do not have records of corruption.
The AFP also vows to ensure its proper coordination with the Department of Education and Technical Education and Skills Development Authority or TESDA for the outlining of ROTC's program of instructions. The new ROTC program will give more emphasis on humanitarian assistance, disaster relief operations, and civic service knowledge. Colonel Arevalo says there will also be surprise inspections to ensure that the enforcement of ROTC will be in accordance with the law.
There will be unscheduled inspection and audits of ROTC. Unity, grievance mechanism, and hotlines for complaint will also be made available.
The fund for the ROTC will come from the budget of Department of National Defense, DepEd, CHED, TESDA, and the General Appropriations Act. The ROTC was first implemented in 1912, but it became mandatory only in 1935 under the National Defense Act or the Commonwealth Act No. 1 through Executive Order 27 of former President Manuel Quezon. However, the various issues that hounded the ROTC program prompted the government to make it voluntary in 2002. It was then called the National Service Training Program. Brian De Paz, UNTV News and Rescue, Camp Aguinaldo.
Over 9,000 residents of Barangay 20 Parola compound are waiting for evacuation after their houses were razed down by a huge fire last night. Many of them are still trying to retrieve what was left of their belongings in their burnt homes. Aiko Miguel will tell us why.
About 400 of the affected residents have already been evacuated to Del Pan Covered Court near the residential area of Barangay 20 Parola Compound, Tondo, Manila. However, many are yet to find a place to stay in after a huge fire swept through the area last night and left thousands of families homeless.
Para makuha namin yung total na bilang ng apektadong pamilya. Katulong po dito yung DSWD. Kumukuha po sila ng record, binibigyan po namin ng family card para kung meron po dumating na tulong, meron po kaming record, doon po namin ilalagay.
The street going to MICT remains unpassable as the residents who are carrying their belongings are staying there. The displaced residents say firemen have had difficulty getting inside the residential area. That's why the fire immediately spread.
Yung bumbero hindi makadaan dahil nakasabagal mga truck dito sa MICT. Ngayon, hindi makapasok agad ng truck, kaya lumaki yung apoy. Siyempre, dahil malaki na, hindi na kaya ng bumbero, as kumalat na.
Yung mga bumbero hindi makapasok kasi may mga truck nga.
The barangay captain noted at least 5,000 houses made from light materials immediately burned down. More or less 10,000 families have been affected by the fire that alerted Task Force Delta. There are no reported fatalities from the said fire, which authorities are still putting out. Authorities are assessing the extent of the damage caused by the fire. Aiko Miguel, UNTV News and Rescue, Manila.
A massive fire is currently engulfing a row of establishments in Libertad Street in Pasay City. Witnesses say the fire allegedly started from a surplus shop around 6 in the evening today. The fire has reached third alarm and has affected a nearby residential area. Emergency workers are on site to extinguish the fire. About 5,000 residents in the Bicol region severely affected by Typhoon Nina last year were able to seek medical services for free. Leslie Longboan will tell us why.
UNTV, in cooperation with members Church of God International and Bagong Henerasyon Party List, brought medical mission activities in the towns of Viga and Bato in Catanduanes and the municipality of Pulangi in Albay. These two provinces are among the areas severely affected by Typhoon Nina, which hit the country in December last year. Some 200,000 families, whose livelihood and health were affected, were displaced during the onslaught of the typhoon. That is why upon receipt of a letter from some local officials appealing for additional assistance, UNTV did not hesitate but immediately sent aid to the Bicolanos.
Actually, nagulat po ako kasi pagkapadala ko ng request, the same day mayroon po kaagad na response, positive response, at I am not that hindi ko inaasahan na ganun karaming doktor ang darating.
Ako po ay nagagalak sapagkat sa loob po ng ilang araw, kagad po tayong tinugon at nagpadala po sila dito ng mga kinatawan upang bisitahin po yung ating lugar.
About 5,000 Bicol residents availed of free services from the group, which include medical, adult, pediatric and optical consultations, dental extraction and laboratory tests. Several residents also availed of free medicines and free haircut. Moreover, UNTV, MCGI and BH Party List gave away relief goods to residents in a barangay in Virac, the capital of Catanduanes.
Ang gawaing ito ay natutunan natin, iminulat sa atin ni Brother Eli at ni Kuya Daniel na every time na tayo may chance na makagawa ng mabuti sa kapwa, lalo na doon sa mga nangangailangan kagaya nito na talaga namang medyo kapos sa kanilang kabuhayan, isang bagay na ikinagagalak ng ating pusong marating sila nang walang anumang kapalit.
On behalf of the residents, local officials of the areas that benefited from the almost 3-day public service event expressed their gratitude to the group.
Malaking tulong po na kung saan po na kami po ay nanandaanan pa lang ng Typhoon Nina.
Ako minsan di ko na yung expression ko sa tuwa ko na ganito, lalong-lalo na sa ang dating Dan Foundation na walang sawang pagtulong sa amin despite na napakalayo namin, Islang Catanduanes.
Leslie Lomboen for Serbisyong Kasangbahay.
Health officials in Brazil have increased the production of the yellow fever vaccine. Chris Perez will tell us why.
Brazil struggles with the worst yellow fever outbreak on record, which has seen 180 cases since the start of December and 65 deaths, according to the government. A further 89 suspicious deaths and 751 possible cases of the illness are being investigated, meaning the toll could rise, the health ministry said on Monday. This has been the worst outbreak since statistics began in 1980, and far worse than the previous most serious outbreak in 2000, which saw 40 deaths and 85 confirmed cases. The call for people to get inoculated in 9 out of Brazil's 26 states caused public health centers to run out of the vaccine at the start of the year, leading officials at the Fiocruz Institute in Rio de Janeiro to call for vaccination efforts to be localized in order to avoid panic.
No final de dezembro e até agora são 21 milhões e 300 mil doses de vacina distribuídas. Hoje, a estratégia do Ministério da Saúde está em concentrar principalmente onde você tem um maior número de casos de febre amarela, que são regiões fronteiriças com as florestas, onde você tem um maior número de casos.
The health ministry says most cases have been in the southeastern Minas Gerais state, where 56 people have died. Another 6 died in Espiritu Santo and 3 in Sao Paulo state. Yellow fever is a viral disease found in tropical regions of Africa and the Americas that mainly affects humans and monkeys and is transmitted by the same type of mosquito that spreads dengue and the Zika virus. Brazil has never managed to entirely eradicate rural yellow fever, but it has not registered cases of the disease in urban areas since 1942. It advises visitors from abroad to get vaccinated for yellow fever. Chris Perez, UNTV News and Rescue, Brazil.
The World Health Organization, or WHO, says good progress has been made in developing a vaccine against Zika virus. Robbie De Guzman will tell us why.
1 year since the declaration of the public health emergency of international concern for Zika virus, the World Health Organization says good progress has been made in developing a vaccine against the virus. The public health emergency of international concern, declared by the Director General of WHO on 1st February 2016, has led the world to an urgent and coordinated response, providing the understanding that Zika virus infection and associated consequences consequences represent a highly significant long-term problem that must be managed by WHO, state parties, and other partners in a way that other infectious disease threats are managed.
We've done a lot of work around moving forward the vaccine development. We have over 40 candidate vaccines that we're able to fast-track using the WHO R&D blueprint. And of course, this will take time, potentially another 3 or 4 years before those are ready, but good progress has been made around that as well.
WHO reported 707,000 Zika virus infection from May 2015 to mid-December 2016. Zika virus is transmitted primarily by the Aedes aegypti mosquito. People with Zika virus disease can have symptoms that include mild fever, skin rash, conjunctivitis, muscle and joint pain, malaise, or headache. Experts are now convinced that Zika virus is a cause of microcephaly as well as Guillain-Barré syndrome. Robbie de Guzman, UNTV News and Rescue, Philippines.
Residents in an exclusive Sydney suburb of Point Piper have decided to stay in hotels after several days of heavy rains. Nina Bascon will tell us why.
A sinkhole has opened up near Australian Prime Minister Malcolm Turnbull's home in the exclusive Sydney suburb of Point Piper today. Sydney suffered heavy rain on Tuesday with reports of flash flooding in its eastern suburbs. According to local media, police were called after reports that the sinkhole had appeared early morning. The street was then cordoned off with a sinkhole less than a kilometer from Turnbull's Sydney residence.
We are going to be removing that slab which is hanging there. We'll then make the site safe, and at the same time we're working with the 3 utility companies so they can do some workarounds to get power back on without us having to complete the construction work, because that's going to take some time.
Some residents plan to spend the night at a hotel.
The lady who lives next door to me, I've spoken to her too, and she's thinking about staying in a hotel tonight just for safety precaution.
There have been no reports of damage to private property. Nina Bascon, UNTV News and Rescue, Melbourne, Australia.
Mexican President Enrique Peña Nieto personally welcomes Mexicans on their arrival from the United States. Orsi Reyes will tell us why.
President Enrique Peña Nieto on Tuesday has welcomed a group of Mexicans who had been deported from the U.S. back home amidst tough talk from President Donald Trump on a border wall. Peña Nieto met the group of 135 citizens at Mexico City's International Airport, where he pledged his solidarity and government support in helping them get re-established in Mexico. The deported citizens have come back home under Mexico's PRIM program, which brings Mexicans forced to leave the United States back home. Upon their arrival, they will receive a health checkup as well as transportation to help them return to rural communities.
No están solos. Permítanos que el gobierno les acompañe en este proceso de regreso a su país. Algunos llevan muchos años fuera, otros menos, pero no se sientan abandonados ni solos. Siempre estarán las puertas abiertas, particularmente del área de gobernación, del Instituto Nacional de Migración, para canalizarles, repito, algún área del gobierno federal que les pueda brindar ayuda y apoyo.
The meeting comes amidst vows from President Donald Trump to build a border wall along the international border between the neighboring countries. Pedro Vasquez was deported to Mexico after spending 16 years in the United States. He leaves behind a wife and 4 children who have U.S. citizenship.
No, vives con miedo cuando tienes una situación como la mía, y más ahorita como está con la nueva administración del nuevo presidente, sí. Porque parece que todos los que hayan cometido algún delito, aunque ya hayan pagado por su delito, todos los que hayan cometido algún delito anteriormente y estén ilegales, los están yendo a buscar.
Another deported migrant says he will return to the United States to reunite with his wife.
Yo de hecho voy a regresar. Tengo mi esposa allá. O sea, ella soy, ¿cómo se llama? Su retén ahí. O sea, yo soy el que trabaja para pagar todo, ¿me entiendes?
According to Pew, more than 16 million Mexican migrants have migrated to the United States in the last 50 years. Arce Reyes, UNTV News and Rescue, Mexico.
A new addition to London street art on the so-called special relationship between the United States and Britain catches public attention. Jungarin will tell us why.
In the poster-sized artwork fashionable East London, a smiling British Prime Minister Theresa May is seen through a black keyhole with a school uniform, wearing US President Donald Trump across her knee. Her right hand is raised, about to give America's new leader a spanking. The words, "a special relationship," are stenciled at the bottom of the somewhat risky image.
I think it's quite interesting. It probably shows just there's a lot of divide and a lot of maybe anger and tension among not only in Britain but also in the US and just in general the Western world. So I think it's a good way to show that. It's a peaceful way to show that, which is always good.
May has been criticized for rushing to the US to become the first foreign leader to meet with Trump a week after his inauguration. Many thought she was slow to condemn the travel ban on 7 predominantly Muslim countries, while being quick to reignite what has long been called the special relationship. One French woman who now lives in Britain didn't think Brexit and American politics are the right subjects for the provocative artwork.
And after the whole Brexit situation, I don't think it's really a laughing matter. No, I don't actually think it's very funny, to be honest.
The work was created by an anonymous street artist who goes by the name of Pegasus. He's also painted a picture of Democrat presidential candidate Hillary Clinton dressed as a Wonder Woman with the words "Never Give Up." He told London's Evening Standard newspaper, "A lot of the time, when I watch the news, I feel like I am watching an apocalyptic movie. Protests around the world, it is a crazy world we live in now. I wanted to express my concern through the artwork." Jungarin, UNTV News and Rescue, Europe.
Race team Land Rover Bar launches their new race boat. Meanwhile, Austria's Nicole Schmidhofer steals victory from American Lindsey Vonn at the Super G World Championships. Aaron Romero will tell us why.
Lindsey Vonn's first run at the World Championships lasted just a few seconds on Tuesday, when the American slid out of the Super G in St. Moritz with Austrian outsider Nicole Schmidhofer staging a major upset to snatch victory. The 27-year-old Schmidhofer, who has never won a World Cup race, gate crashed the first day of championships with a perfect run, shooting out of the gates and taming the icier parts of the lower course with skill to finish 1:21.34 minutes. Defending Super G champion Anna Vieth suffered a worse fate, crashing out of the race. Meanwhile, in a bid to become Great Britain's first ever America's Cup winners, Land Rover Bar, led by their skipper Ben Ainsley, launched a new race boat for the competition at a ceremony. The matte black boat, codenamed R1 aka Rita, was unveiled in Bermuda by Ainsley, his wife Georgie, and their baby daughter Beatrix. With just over 100 days ahead of the 2017 edition of the America's Cup, the Land Rover Bar team will now be focusing on intensively training on their new boat. Ainsley has won 4 Olympic gold medals as well as 8 sailing world championship golds. He was also a part of the Oracle Team USA that won the 2013 America's Cup.
A lot of exciting things going on today, quite a key moment for the team moving forwards towards the racing later on this year.
Aaron Romero, UNTV News and Rescue, New York.
Competitors, including 14 and 17-year-old females, stunned audience in an indoor skydiving battle. Jovic Bermas will tell us why.
Over 200 flyers from around the world have gathered to compete in the 4th edition of the Indoor Skydiving Wind Games in Empuriva Brava, northeastern Spain on Friday and Saturday. Hosted by the Windor Vertical Wind Tunnel, participants competed in traditional categories, but in addition, the 2017 Wind Games also included new disciplines such as solo speed, 4-speed, and 2-way freestyle to music. Organizers said on their website www.windor-realfly.com.
The Wind Games was amazing. It was super fun. I love all the teams. I had a lot of fun and it was super sick. Yeah, it was awesome.
Windors says the competition has grown steadily over the years, attracting both participants and fans. In its website, the group is overwhelmed that the 2016 Wind Games, since it went viral, has brought indoor skydiving to the screens of more than 215 million viewers, with millions watching the outstanding freestyle performances of Leonid Volkov and Maha Kugzinska. Luke Warren, part of the two-man team that conquered the Wind Games 2017 gold medal in the two-way dynamic category, says the sport is also becoming more competitive.
Insane. The level is literally, it's all at the same point right now. And I think it truly comes down to standing in that door and who can pull themselves together, you know.
Belgian team Hayabusa won the gold medal in the freestyle category for a second year running.
It's actually an awesome experience and we're happy to win here. It's also our home wind tunnel, so yeah, super excited.
Jovic Burmas, UNTV News and Rescue, Europe.
Those are the reasons behind the news, February 8, 2017. I'm Angelo Castro III.
Reasons we delivered to you as they unfold. I'm Darlene Basingan.
Because we need to know, we will always ask why. Thank you for watching Y News.